Let's talk about the education piece because I think it's really interesting and unique. And we obviously have a really strong stance here on our education, but we do talk a lot about why we like virtual education. We think it allows for students, one, to engage in the platform like they've grown up with now. They've grown up with smartphones, they've grown up with YouTube, Instagram, Netflix, TikTok. But also, you can focus more on sports, theater, music, whatever your extracurricular are, because you can learn so much through that. And you talk about how you maybe weren't the most engaged in school, but you obviously are incredibly articulate, really intellectually driven. You learned a lot of that playing sports, the locker room banter. Can you talk about how hockey was its own education in your own right and how you potentially maybe even learned more from your hockey experiences than your school experiences?
Yeah, I mean, I think hockey is a school of hard knocks. Especially when you're walking in, it's like you're a fresh bait and
Yes.
going into a jail, right? You don't want to end up like Tracy Morgan in Longest Yard, right, where you got the crop top on. So I would go in there, and especially with older guys, you got to get acclimated. You got to be quick. And what is the best way to do that? Well, it's to be funny and somewhat smart, right?
Yes.
Like you don't want to be. I was never want to be like the idiot, just like
No.
the one's like the punching bag, right?
Yep.
In a locker room, that can happen quickly.
It
So,
can. Yeah.
I would always try to, whether it was, if I was 15 playing with U18 guys, or if I was a freshman playing with seniors in college,
Playing juniors, you're really young to play
juniors,
yeah.
or even playing pro. I always wanted to hang out with the older guys because I felt like they had more wisdom and more knowledge, and that would give me an ability to learn quicker. They always knew the good spots in town. They knew where the restaurants were. They knew where the nightclubs were. They knew where the chicks probably hung out, where to get a coffee. All that stuff came into play. And I always would try to gravitate towards the older guys, the veterans, and then that way, by the time it was the following year, well, now I was, I had that, like my speed was so much quicker, and I had that much more knowledge, and it's kind of like graduating to the next level, sort of.
Yeah, so then that's something that we talk about. Like you can learn so much from mentors, surrounding yourself with excellence, and that one-on-one small group time, that's where you really get the most impactful learning. And so like when you're with an older, is there anyone you want to shout out? Any mentor to you?
I think a guy like in pro would be like, Chris Butler. I would say even Scotty Upshaw, who does this podcast.
Yeah, I saw.
Now
So I was
Missing
preparing for this
Yeah.
call today and was watching your Missing Curfew with you and Heat Daddy.
Yeah.
You had a good sweatsuit on.
Yeah, well, that was a velour, by the
Yeah.
way. Yeah,
That looked
Heard of it?
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a Adidas velour. But yeah, I just think like Alex Steen, a guy in St. Louis,
Great player.
Yeah, I was a pigeon at the time and a young kid, but he would have me over for Thanksgiving or go grab something to eat. There's like lunches and just being like just a sponge. I know it sounds cliche, but like there's like the older guys and there's a lot of knowledge that can be passed along.
Learn as much as possible.
Exactly.
When you think about when you were your time in the NHL, just curious, like what do you think was the biggest gap between you